Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about something brand new to my channel, motorcycles. More specifically, I want to ask the question, put this out to you and sort of give you my opinion on it. How critical is it to have motorcycle riding skills in a crap hits the fan scenario? We're going to explore that a little bit, but I'm also going to tell you just a tiny bit about this bike right here. This is the new to me 2008 Kawasaki KLR 650. If any of you guys have heard of the KLR 650, you probably know its reputation. It's sort of the bike that's not amazing at anything, but pretty good at a lot of different things. I've got it out here on some dirt trails, and I've been riding around quite a bit today. I've ridden it around a fair bit since I got my motorcycle endorsement on my license, which is kind of a new thing to me too, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I've taken it on roads, on trails like this, and I've really enjoyed having it. And it is, like I said before, and you know, the folks out there who know more about it than I do and have been riding them for years and years, unlike me, they'll tell you that this bike is good at a number of things, but not excellent at anything. And that's sort of why I chose it, because you know, good at a bunch of things, not excellent at anything, kind of like myself. So let's get into motorcycles a little bit, more particularly the sort of dual sport or enduro style of motorcycle, KLR 650 being one of those, very popular dual sport motorcycle for a really great price, mind you. Let's talk a little bit about how these can help you out in the crap hits the fan scenario. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know I cover knives, you know I cover guns, you know I cover a bunch of things related to sort of emergency preparedness. Somewhat tactical, somewhat survivalish, not really focused, pinpoint on any one of those things, but trying to create sort of an all-encompassing basic understanding of lots of different stuff. And along with that is very much a desire to sort of be prepared and be ready for emergency situations. And that can be, again, emergency defensive situations or survival situations, but more particularly, and we've seen a lot of this in the news recently, with earthquakes in Mexico, with hurricanes in the United States, some pretty devastating ones that people are still recovering from, and others that may still be on the way. And we are really dealing with, we're seeing with actual scenarios right now where it is more or less a version of a crap hits the fan type of state, where roads may be impassable, services are hard to get, resources are hard to get, and folks are kind of having to go to receive aid from different places, and in some cases dealing with obstacles in roads that make it difficult to go and collect those resources that you need, either for yourself, for your family, for whatever. When I think about all those situations that our country and our world is dealing with right now, and seems like an increasing number of them and increasing severity, it seems like it's only a matter of time before some of those really bad, devastating natural disasters or any other sort of disaster sort of hits really close to home to me. And with that in mind, I want to be as prepared as I can, and that includes water, and that includes some guns, and that includes some knowledge, some basic knowledge of survival techniques and tools related to that, but also travel. I think travel is kind of critical. So with that in mind, thinking specifically about the crap hits the fan stuff, I feel like the enduro or dual sport type of motorcycle has so much potential to help out in that sort of scenario. You may have downed trees, you may have any number of things that make it very, very difficult or completely impossible to get a good vehicle from point A to point B. And I'm talking about a car, maybe even a four-wheel drive car that normally you feel like would get you wherever you needed to go. I myself drive a Subaru, which I think is a great sort of compromise vehicle that gets me to work and home for not bad gas mileage, but also could get me out to places like this pretty easily. But even that vehicle would have a really difficult time with some of the stuff I've seen out here. A motorcycle, a two-wheeled vehicle, has an advantage. I think that's kind of inarguable. Because of that, I feel like the dual sport particularly is a great type of motorcycle to get into if you're interested in motorcycles. And whether you buy your own motorcycle or not, I think developing the skill to ride one fairly effectively, get from point A to point B, get around some obstacles in a road and so forth, be able to drive with some degree of precision, not necessarily speed, but precision, even if the bike is fairly heavy. I feel like that's kind of critical. Not absolutely critical, but important. And I would say that you have a huge advantage if you have that skill. Thinking about all of this over the past year or so has more or less cemented in my mind the need for me to have motorcycle riding as a skill. And that's why this past July I picked up a pretty old beater motorcycle, and to be honest, I bought it at the wrong time and I probably bought the wrong one. It's an old Honda XL 250 from 1980, and that thing has seen better days. But since I bought it in July, early July, I've spent a lot of weekends working on it, tinkering with it, fixing problems that it has, getting it to a state that it runs pretty nicely right now. However, it's still not street legal, and it's only a 250, which means I could never really commute on it, and it just gives me a lot less opportunity to use it practically and get that practice that I want with my motorcycle. And for that reason, I decided to upgrade to the KLR 650 from 2008, just a few weeks back, but I've loved it ever since then. Now, in the course of this whole journey for me, I did decide to go ahead and make sure that I got proper training with motorcycles. So as I was beginning to get my motorcycle endorsement for my driver's license, I started off by going to utahrideredu.com, I think it's called, and they didn't pay me to say anything about their website, but I did use their service, paid full price for it, and I liked it. I liked what they provided. I liked what they did. Took a class that was, I think, 10 hours total. It was some classroom time and also lots of range time. And so we went to this parking lot that's set up for the city, in which we're able to use these bikes that are provided by the service, and we ride them around. We learn how to ride them properly, and most of the folks in the class had some experience riding motorcycles in the past. I myself included, only on that bike that I had bought in July. But a lot of us also learned quite a bit, and there were a number of things we had to do for that road test that were fairly challenging. And I would say that throughout the class, they pushed us probably further than we actually needed to go in order to pass the road test for the DMV. But that was a really good thing, because we got lots of road time, learning these bikes really well, understanding and developing that muscle memory you need to operate your bike effectively, safely, and efficiently. And I absolutely felt like that class was worth taking, really enjoyed it. And at the end of that, I passed with the 250 endorsement, but I decided, since they had a 650 there available for rental, and I believe it was a Suzuki, I forget the nomenclature, but it was a 650 enduro style motorcycle. I decided, since they had that available, I rented that and went ahead and tested on that to get my 650 endorsement, which means I can ride anything now, which is fantastic. So some of you guys who have been watching the channel for a while may be wondering, Shane, are you going to turn into a motovlog channel? I know that's kind of a trendy thing nowadays. Please tell me that's not what you're going to turn into. Honestly, I don't know what the future holds, but I don't think I'm going to abandon anything I have been working on. I'm just going to bring motorcycles in a little bit to what I do, because it's fun, number one, and because I do see genuine, important, practical uses for motorcycle riding. Again, like I said, in crap hits the fan scenarios. So I would like your input at this point, down in the comment section. Tell me about your experience riding, if you ride. Tell me about whether you feel like it's critical, whether you feel like it's somewhat important, or if you feel like it's not important at all. I'd love to hear about that as well, and all the reasons why. Again, I want this to kind of be a back and forth, but ultimately I want you guys to realize that, in my opinion, it is a kind of an important skill, and it definitely does put you at an advantage in certain situations. So as for me, I'm going to stick with motorcycle riding probably indefinitely. It's taken me quite a while to decide to get into it, but once I decide things like this, I generally don't go back on them. I generally stick with them. And that's kind of the deal with this KLR 650. I'm looking forward to riding this thing for many, many years to come. Maybe some long trips, maybe some short trips, who knows. Whatever the case, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm the late Boy Scout. See you later.